All right, we're going to look at this radical equation. All right, so in your journal, you guys can write this out. The square root of x plus 4 equals the square root of x plus the square root of 2. The very first step in when solving this problem is you need to square both sides. We're going to square both sides to start out. One of them is going to be ridiculously easy. That's just x plus 4. The other, we're actually going to have to use a little bit of the FOIL method here to get this. Now there's a pattern I can use, but I'm just going to choose to use the FOIL method instead of the pattern. So I'm going to highlight my first term right here. I'm going to multiply it to that first term and then the outside term. And then I'm going to take this square root of 2 and multiply it to the square root of x and the square root of 2. All of my answers in blue will be the answers in blue, and the answers in green will be the answers in green. Yes, Ryan?
Would you, okay, if you have radical x times radical x, would it just like cancel out to just the x?
That's it. The radical x times a radical x is just x. You're right. Now, a radical x times a radical 2 is radical 2x. And a radical 2 times a radical x is another radical 2x. And then a radical 2 times a radical 2 is just a 2.
Oh, 2, yeah.
Because, yes, radical 2 times radical 2 is the square root of 4, but the square root of 4 is just a 2. So let's see what we have left. On the left side of the equal sign, we have x plus 4. On the right side of the equal sign, we have an x.
X plus radical 4x.
Ooh, no, close. By the way, that's a radical 2x. That's a radical 2x. How many radical 2x's do you have? 2 of them. That's why you say plus 2. Radical 2x. You have 2 of them. Plus 2. Now, at this point, I'm really, really, really excited because I realize it's going to be a heck of a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Why am I excited? Because now, look what happens. If I take away this x and I take away this x, all the x's are gone, and my life is a lot easier. Get that joke? Good. Okay, good. All right, then we take away a 2 here, and we take away a 2 right here. Oh, you got it? Good.
All your x's.
All my x's are gone. Oh, that was an evil laugh. Okay. Yes, you can divide both sides by 2, Liz. I like it. We're going to divide this side by 2 and this side by 2. And I get 2 divided by 2, and that's simply a 1 equals the square root of 2x. Oh, my goodness. I need to get rid of this radical. What should I do? I'm so confused. Square it. Square it. Good. We're going to square this side. And we're going to square this side. 1 times 1 is 1. The square root of 2x times the square root of 2x is just 2x. Oh my goodness. X is simply equal to 1/2. No way. If you plug in a 1/2 into that equation, it works. I said no way. Alright, if I plug in a 1/2 here, and I plug in a 1/2 here, then I guess they end up equaling each other. I don't believe it. I'm going to check the graphing calculator to see if this works, okay? So we have radical, second quit. Second quit, try it again, here we go. Radical, what do you get? 1 divided by 2 plus a 4, press enter. That equals this. So I get radical 1 divided by 2 plus a radical 2, but that was the other side of the equal sign, right? It works. So x ended up equaling a 1/2. So just so you know what I just did there, what did I do to check my answer in the calculator? I plugged it in. I plugged in a 1/2 right there, and I plugged in a 1/2 right there to see if it worked. All right? Okay. Wait, by the way, we have 10 minutes to do the last problem. All right, we're now doing problem number 9. We got to do this quick. We got to do this fast. By the way, this is going to be your x value. That's going to be your y value. This is going to be your L1 column. That's going to be your L2 column. Audrey's going to help us type it in the calculator correctly. You turn your calculator on. You hit stat and enter, and now you have your L1 column. Audrey, help me.
1990.
1990. Enter. Go.
1995.
1995. Good.
1997.
1997. Having a hard time hearing. Go.
1998.
1998. Good.
1999.
1999. I'm feeling the pattern here.
2000.
2000.
2001.
2001.
And 2002.
2002. Okay. Good. L2 column. Y values.
5.3.
5.3.
33.8.
33.8.
55.3.
55.3. Little drummer boy, slow down. Oh, 55.3. 55.3. Little drummer boy distracted me.
69.2.
69.2. Good.
86.0.
86.0. Good.
109.5.
109.5. These numbers are going.
128.4.
128.4.
140.8.
140.8. Good. All right, now we're going to establish our window. Here's what we're going to do to establish the window, everybody. I want you guys to make 1989 the lowest and 2003 the highest. We're going to put our X maximum at 2003 and our X minimum at 1989. We're going to go from 0 all the way up to 150. So we're going to put our range is going to be from 0 to 150, which means that's going to be our Y minimum, that's going to be our Y maximum. So everybody, go to your window button. Hit window. Our X minimum is going to be 1989. That's when I was a freshman in high school. All right? Our X maximum, we're going to put at 2003, correct? X scale, we'll just go up by ones. That should be fine. All right? Y minimum, we're going to do at 0. We're going to go all the way up to 150. And let's go ahead and just count by tens for our Y scale. Plug those in just like that. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is we actually have to turn our stat plot on. So right now we have our graph. We don't see anything plotted because we don't have our stat plot on. Second, Y equals, enter, turn the dadgum thing on, then hit graph. All right? Okay? So it looks like we have this type of graph. Now we're going to figure out what type of graph it is. All right? So right now what I'd like you guys to do is hit stat. Right arrow. We're going to go down to number 4. And we're going to store linear in Y1. So you hit alpha, trace, enter. There's my linear function. Okay? Now, I'm going to check the next one. I'm going to hit stat. Right arrow, go down to number 5 and check quadratic. I'm going to put this sucker in Y2. Alpha, trace, enter. It's a good thing I'm recording because it gives you all of the instructions of how to do it. All right, here's my quadratic. All right, there's my linear. There's my quadratic. Okay? Then we're going to hit stat, right arrow, number 6. Enter, enter, enter. I'm going to store it in alpha trace number 3. Now we're going to hit graph. First one, second one, come on. Here's my third one. Didn't graph. Didn't store. Okay. I'll try to store it again. Enter, enter, enter. Alpha, trace.
How do you hit?
I messed up here already. Stat, right arrow, number 6. Go down to store regression equation. Alpha, trace, number 3. I forgot to press calculate. There we go. There we go. Okay, graph. First one. Second one. Third one. Kind of nice. All right, I think I'm going cubic right now. All right?
Yeah, I like cubic.
You like cubic? All right, so right now what we're going to do is if we choose to do the cubic function, which is this big long one right here, let's go back to our, it says write a model. If you chose the cubic function, you could write the answer. You're like, well, what the heck am I supposed to write for that answer? That's a good question. Go to your calculator. Hit second mode, get back to the screen, scroll back up to where it says cubic, press enter twice. You can write this information down for your cubic answer. All right? Then, what I want you to do after you write that, you don't have to write this down right now, but right now, right there, that could be your answer. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the calculator. It says, according to the model, how many subscribers were there in 1996? So let's look at 1996. Here's what you do. second window. We're going to start the table in 1996 and hit second graph. Right now, we have 58.055. This was linear. This was quadratic. This was cubic. Now, if you chose quadratic over cubic, I wouldn't count you wrong because it's kind of hard to interpret, okay? It might be quadratic. Maybe it's going up that fast. All right, you see how these two numbers are relatively the same? Now look at these numbers right here. Let's go back to our screen. What number best fits in there? Probably not the 58.055, right? Probably not that one. Probably the 44.3 or the 43.1. So right now that 44.3 or 43.1? One of those two numbers best fits in this area right in here. A lot better than the linear. If you want to look right here where it says, use the model to predict when there will be over what? 200 million subscribers? Here's how you answer that question. Go to your table. Scroll down. When do you guys see it going over 200 million? 2005. Okay? So by the time it hits 2005, it looks like it finally hits. Whether you chose quadratic or whether you chose the cubic, this was the quadratic, this was the cubic, they both go over 200 million in 2005. Okay? So right here, if you're like, okay, what would the answer for CB? You would say 2005. And if you put the other answer, if we go back, let's see here. 44.3 or 43.1. Either one of those answers right here would be okay. 44.3 or 43.1. I would accept both answers. None of those are tough to figure out. And that's how those are all the steps you can look at of how to get to your final answer. You're going to have to know how to do this on the 6-week step.